the monsters declared war on him. He's like,
Yeah, at
we
some
are now
point-
at odds.
Yeah.
You know, you abandoned me. I've had to suffer all this evil because you wouldn't walk me through life, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to visit all this kind of evil. And the thing that he says was like, I will be there on your wedding night. And Frankenstein,
In his infinite wisdom,
just takes that as that means me.
right. He's going to attack
He's
me on
gonna
my
get
wedding night, of
me.
course. I'll defend myself.
Right. That's fair. Yes, that would be a thing. Hello, welcome to the HolmFront. I am Tyler, your host, and to my right is
You could do me first
every time
and then go back
every
to what
time.
you were going to do.
Welcome to the HolmFront, where we keep everything objectively subjective. I'm going to do it. I am Tyler, your host, and to my right, as always, is Mitch, my overly artistic friend.
Hello. I feel like I should have a thing to say now.
Okay, go
Because
for
you
it.
have a thing to say.
Okay,
And I have to sit here and make something up.
sure. What do you want?
No, I'm saying I'm just articulating the problem. I don't have an answer for you.
Okay. I feel like we should add a little bit of us to us as well, like inspiring board game
Oh.
creator, author.
Yeah, author, whatever.
I don't know how much.
I'm here with my co-host. How's that?
Thanks. As if you didn't know from my intro, I'm gonna get a little less light there. All right,
People could be confused.
they are, and we've had such a long intro at this point. So let's jump into it.
Yeah.
So we watched a movie that will be coming out on Netflix on the 7th.
Yes.
What did we see?
We saw Frankenstein. Guillermo del Toro's magnum opus.
Magnum opus, as some have been referring to it. Let's start with that. What do you think? Is that magnum opus?
Well, I don't think del Toro is a very good director. Sorry.
Oh.
Here's all the booze.
How
Come
dare
at me.
you? How dare you?
So I don't know that he has one.
He does.
If
I
he
think it's
does-
Pan Labyrinth.
I was about to say, if
Yeah.
he does have one, I think I would agree with the consensus that it would be Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
It would definitely wouldn't be this one. That's for darn sure. You're more of a you like Del Toro mostly, or you have mixed feelings about him, right?
He's always hit or miss for me. It's
Okay.
like fun and then just like
So which of his movies do you like?
I like the Hellboy movies. I liked
I actually like those two.
yeah. I liked Pan's Labyrinth for the most part. I think it's a little too dark for dark's sake at certain points for sure.
That's my issue with it. Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember his other films. I don't like Pacific Rim. Don't
It's a
like.
terrible movie.
I
so
don't
bad.
like Shape of Water. I think that's an awful film.
I've not seen that one yet.
Okay. I thought about throwing that in today, but I was like, I'm not gonna torment him, make him watch that one. So
It would-
yeah. I guess Hellboy would have to be like the standard because it seemed like, and I guess we'll be getting into this a little bit today. Is that when he has source material that is kind of dictating his actions, so he has to serve that,
Mhm.
then he can do a decent job. But it depends on how much that source material is dictating him. Because here he
Okay.
had way too much creative license for Frankenstein,
Oh, I see. Okay.
in my opinion. Spoilers for what our feelings on the movie are, but when he's kind of able to do his own thing, or maybe that's the case. Maybe when he's just doing his own thing completely free of all. Because Pan's Labyrinth I enjoyed, and I don't think there's any source material there.
He is weirdly inconsistent in that respect. I find it funny too that his best movies, at least in my opinion, are the Hellboy films.
Right.
And in fact, a lot of people agree that the Golden Army is better than the first Hellboy movie.
Do you disagree?
No, I agree with that
Oh, okay.
completely. I think that is a consensus take. And I find it interesting that when he does a superhero picture, because I mean, look at the equivalent of Ong Lee. When he did a superhero picture, look how that turned out. And Ong Lee is a really good director.
Right.
Like he makes some pretty interesting movies. It's always very thought provoking. But the Hulk movie was trash. It was awful.
I
And
like
so
the special effects.
okay.
So
I actually like them too.
okay, so Frankenstein then. What? Just
Hey,
coming.
that's another movie about a big green monster. So if you are tasked with directing a movie with a big green monster,
Don't.
think about it. Because if you have an illustrious career before then, maybe this will be your downfall. Lesson learned.
I like how we associate him as green, but he's not. Like he's not. He's never been green. He's
Yeah.
a dead dude. So
Well, I think that's so whenever Halloween comes around, as we just had, and you get like Halloween candy, and then it's like green themed or whatever because it's like spooky and slime or whatnot.
Sure.
Goosebumps, for example. So I think that's why I associate the Frankenstein monster with being green, because the original Universal picture was black and white.
Right.
So they're
Can't tell.
yeah. So, but now he's just like cemented as a green
I
monster.
wonder if I wonder if that was like their way of not going so dark, making him look so much like death. Because he's supposed to be stylistic,
Oh,
he's got like the bolts in his head and stuff.
yeah,
And then it's got a green pallor, so it's still associated with something kind of creepy and weird,
yeah.
but not disturbing like a corpse
Hmm.
or an assortment of corpses. Um, yeah, okay, so in this movie, he's not green.
And this
So
movie's
let's
not
just
green.
say, not green.
But even though we wore matching shirts as to commemorate the occasion,
Solidarity. That's what this is. Bring back green Frankenstein.
that was really the issue with this movie. He
Right.
wasn't green enough. Could have done with more
Make
green.
Frankenstein's monster green again.
Okay, I have one more thing to
Yeah.
add, and then we can finally jump into the review. I just like to point out that the timing of everything is off surrounding this movie. Everything.
Okay.
So the movie releases in theaters before Halloween, but not during Halloween. Then it comes out on Netflix after Halloween. And then we review it after Halloween, but before it comes out and before its Oscar nominations, which will be later this year.
probably
So it's
will
just like
happen.
there's no way to do this movie.
No.
It's just like all the timing was just profoundly off.
Yeah. Here's my theory on that one, because it's a Netflix film, and Netflix probably could not get, even though it's Del Toro behind it probably couldn't get the licenses to release in theaters on Halloween. It probably wasn't allowed to do that. I'm sure they wouldn't hand it out. I don't know how that system works necessarily, but it had a limited theatrical release, and it's Netflix, and there's, historically they don't get along, Hollywood and Netflix, very much. So
Yeah.
they're probably already upset that Del Toro's on board with this, which means it's probably going to get some kind of Oscar attention.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want it to like get more attention than it was already going to. But most of its audience is going to be on Netflix when it releases on the 7th,
Yes.
which I agree. It should have been on Halloween, but whatever. This is kind of, it was just a weird, because it's not quite a book adaptation, but it's not quite the Universal's adaptation.
No.
So it kind of like tries to merge the two. So it's not quite revering Hollywood the way I'm sure they wish that he was,
Oh.
especially because it's Netflix.
Yeah.
So it just seems like there's a lot of politics surrounded it. Now it's just weird.
Well, and if I could give the surface level takeaway on the movie of whether or not you should go see it, it's like it's everything you just said. It's not quite authentic to the book, but it's more authentic to the book than a lot of other adaptations. It's not quite authentic to the Universal horror movie where it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's instead trying to do this like very awkward middle ground. And in fact, the fact that this movie is R-rated, I think, was a huge, huge mistake, because all of the scenes, like all the reasons why it's R, are just these like
Unnecessary.
gratuitous, violent scenes for
Yeah.
no reason. And I mean that no reason. It's like the movie halts in its tracks to be like, here's something violent for all you gore horror movie fans out there. That's what it felt like. It's
Yeah.
like someone had to say that to me, and then it plays some kind of gory, action-y scene, kind of, and then that ended, and then it was back to doing the drama. And I was like, okay, so your movie, especially with the kind of overall, like this is not a feel, like, I'm not going to spoil the end, but this is not a feel-bad movie.
No.
And the original story is a feel-bad story. Like, feel very bad. So the fact that it's not that is like leans towards that PG-13 rating, I would say. And instead he makes it R, and it's like, well, if it's going to be R, then just also make the story as rough as it's supposed to be, or make it PG-13, because what you want is a nice palatable version for people.
Yeah, because he cut out a big audience. So anybody
Exactly.
that wanted to bring their kids to a fun Halloween film or whatever, an adaptation of a story that they might understand on some level, one of the adaptations.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Frankenstein to some extent, and I was one of those people too until this year that had not read the book, but I knew of his existence. I just didn't know like what the story is about necessarily. I didn't know what the message was or why it was told. I learned all that this year. So
Mm.
after having read the book, it gave me a different perspective. So if you haven't read the book and you kind of have a somewhat, I don't know, loose grasp on the understanding of Frankenstein, you'll probably enjoy the movie. And if you like some body horror, that's just in there. Again, it doesn't feel like it fits too well. So I agree with the PG-13 statement. You should have just removed that stuff because it would have been just as effective. There was no reason for it to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably have fun. But as to our personal feelings on the matter, what would you rate this movie?
Uh, a
So
1.
1 star. Okay.
It's pretty bad.
Okay.
Because so it has a couple of things that it sort of recovers in the middle a little bit, where I'm like, okay, well, this is like the book,
Hmm.
and then everything else is just so not like the book, or just like it looks like it. You're going through similar motions, but all of the reasoning is completely misconstrued, and at that point, I just like checked out because I've actually not just read this book multiple times, but I've taught this book in classes for high school kids. And so we always have very thoughtful discussions about it. And the problem with this movie is that it's like if you're going to veer so close to the sun, you basically just catch on fire. Like it's like he can't he's like so close to the book adaptation that he clearly wants it to be in conversation with it. But as soon as it gets into that conversation, then he's hit with like 10,000 questions. Well, why didn't you do this? Well, why isn't this way? Why is this character like this? That's all wrong. And like here's all the reasons over and over and over. Like I could sit Del Toro down and talk to him for like an hour and explain to him what he did wrong. And then he'd probably sit there and be like, "I don't care. I made my money."
Yeah.
But therein lies the problem. Is it just doesn't feel like he sat there and was like, "Okay, that's like a strength in the book. I want to capture that on screen." It feels more like, "Oh, Frankenstein's a cool monster." And this is my whole problem with Del Toro is I don't really. It's like I never feel like he's this directorial auteur in the industry, like an artist. He's like a monster guy. He likes to make monsters and visual effects.
He should just be stuck on like a Hammer horror type kick,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, or like, he can do a movie that's a little more geared towards that. Like the Hellboy stuff, like it has some heart to it, but it's a more straightforward, like it's just cool monster fight to
Sure.
cool monster fight, and that's for the most part that's all you need. And so I feel like with those constraints, he's fine. But like when he goes off and does this other stuff, I'm just like, I don't understand why you're in the director chair, because it's like you're just excited over the fact that you get a cool Frankenstein monster.
Sure.
And so then it starts getting infused with things that he likes in a story. Whether or not it's actually true to the original story is completely irrelevant to him. And that kind of rubs me the wrong way whenever I'm going through one of his movies.
Okay.
Well, what about you though? I've been pretty harsh. How many stars did you give it? 1 out of 5?
I'd
See how I subliminally.
That was nice. That was nice of you. Thank you. I would probably throw it a 2.
Okay.
I gave it a lot of thought because, like, I try to give like a 2 opinion type of thing, right? One where it's, okay, what was he trying to do? Did he do that well? And then what I guess should have been. But on this one, especially because I just come off reading the book and learning all this stuff about it, but watching the film, I was like, well, why even choose Frankenstein then? There's no reason to have done this.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was so messy and muddled that no one sat back and was like, did we capture what we were trying to do here? And in my opinion, what you should be trying to do is capture what the story was trying to do in the first place. It's a very clear,
yeah.
specific message. And not only did he completely miss the message, he destroyed it. And I was like, oh, well, then you should have just made a different monster movie.
Yeah.
Like, I would have almost, as a nod, made a Frankenstein's monster film and call it something else, kind of like what they did with Nosferatu originally.
Oh, yeah.
Almost as if he didn't get the license for the actual Frankenstein story.
Like Frankenstein or something.
Exactly.
And then it's just.
You got to be careful
okay.
with that. Like, choose a series because that's funny, but that's
Yeah.
more of like a young Frankenstein, like a on the nose kind of a humor.
Yeah, no, it would need to be another word,
Right.
like the undead man or something.
Sure. But the fact that he chose Frankenstein is where I had the problem, and I was like, all right, I can't give you a whole lot of grace on this one because they had a really interesting message in the original story. And it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't even just veering off completely to make it fun and something totally
Sure.
disconnected from the book. he tried to merge the two. So he created a Frankenstein's monster out of the Frankenstein movie. He's like, I'm gonna pull some from here and some from here and some from here, and it didn't all fit together, just like in the story. Anyway, so wasn't a fan. So I didn't. Two probably closer to one. I was unimpressed.
Well, I remember. So when we saw it in the theater, that's how we're speaking to you now. By the way, is that the limited release?
Yeah, we went and saw limited release in the theaters, which is why we're talking about it before the official Netflix release.
I just said that. No.
He just said that. Go ahead.
Do I have an echo? Okay, so yeah, because when we saw it in the theater, so I was having a hard time. This is story time because it starts off like the first 30 minutes. It's just following Victor, who is not the monster. Victor Frankenstein is the man who makes the creature, and he's mostly just known as the creature.
Or the wretch.
Or the wretch, yes. Which is Frankenstein's favorite way to refer to him.
Yeah, it is.
So when they were doing Frankenstein's story, I was just struggling. I was like, you're killing me, movie, because it just profoundly misunderstood the character. And it's not really Oscar Isaac's fault. It's just the way the character was written to be. It's like, okay, we don't need this. This changed. It doesn't help anything. And it just, all of it just kind of slotted it into like these generic story arcs to follow. I was like, all right, fine. So then at some point that ends. I mean, before that, I had to take a break. I admit, I had to go and get some popcorn because I was just like, I cannot take another scene where you just ruin this character again. It was that bad. Then I came back, and then we started following the creature's perspective, and then the movie picked up a little bit, and I was like, okay, some of this is working. Some of this is actually like following the book. There's like a few minor things that they changed, but I was like, that makes sense that you changed that for a movie. It flows a lot better. It would be a lot of extra needless stuff to deal with if it was, that you try to capture. So you mostly had the sentiment or like the important meaning of these scenes, specifically when you're following the creature in his tale. And then it kind of like comes back to the end where he tries to tie things together, and then it's just like a big womp womp kind of movie. And everyone we saw it with too didn't care for it either.
No. Seemed like the common consensus was the ending just destroyed whatever it had built in the right direction. Just
yeah. So is there anything we should say else before we get into spoilers?
I will say for its limited release, it made $129 million, and it was a $100 million budget. I'm not sure if that $100 million budget was just for the film or also for the marketing.
It seems like a lot for a limited release.
Seems like it.
Maybe
I'll
not.
have to do some further research to understand if that is a success or not. And because I know that once it fades into the Netflix scene, it's a lot harder to track.
Yeah.
Right, because you don't know like who joins Netflix for that, or
Yeah.
you can see how many people watch it, but that doesn't. Like you might have a household with multiple members of the family watch it, and they don't have separate accounts, so it's like really hard to track that stuff. So I know that, and then it has 85% for critics, and then 95% for audiences. So it seems like it was fairly well received for the people that saw it. But that's all I really know. Aside from that, there's not much else that I want to go over outside of the spoiler section. So unless you have further comments, I think
I mean, like some of the technical elements. Like I will say, I really liked the score. I thought the score was great.
Yeah, well, yeah. Alexander Desplat, which if you've if you've heard any of our videos, we've probably mentioned that we like him. Out there somewhere is a Star Wars score that he's done for Rogue One that didn't get released, and I like reminding Mitch of that because somewhere out there it will never be
Torture.
seen. So
like one of the best composers of our day. And
he's famously done the last 2 Harry Potter films.
Yeah, the Deathly Hallows ones. That was him.
That was Desplat.
Yeah, a lot of really great work. So that was good. I mean, the effects were pretty good, I think, right?
Specifically, yeah, when it gets to the CGI portions are good. I know most of them apparently were practical effects. But I really, there's an angel character, and it's in the trailer, so I'm not ruining anything. He sees a vision. That thing looked pretty cool.
That thing was cool, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't really have much to do with anything. It was just neat looking.
What did you think of that thing he has? It's earlier in the movie, so I don't think it's really that much of a spoiler. It's Frankenstein goes to give this like presentation to a bunch of other academics.
Oh yeah.
And he has like a corpse. It's just its upper body with like its its face and its arms, and then it's like heart, and then he like does his electricity technology to resuscitate it, and it's like and it comes alive or whatever. Did you think that was cool, or did you think that was lame?
I liked it. I thought it was a good
I thought it looked cool. I
premise
thought it
setter.
was weird. It
It
was
was.
almost kind of like uncanny to look at,
Yeah.
but I kind of felt like that was a worthwhile choice.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of Scorn, that game that came out not too long ago, which itself was kind of like an H.R. Geiger sort of style, where like, but
Okay.
everything is just made up of like weird organs and stuff.
Okay.
And so you're like going through this alien spaceship, but it's all just like weird, like
Oh. Okay.
anatomical things around you.
So it's just horrific, just body horror kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's mostly unsettling. It's not like there's no jump scares. It's actually like a
Okay.
puzzle game, I think. But it's just kind of like this weird cerebral experience. But it reminded me of that, where just like something is kind of uncanny, uncomfortable, very biological, and you're just sort of like, ooh, this is kind of like.
I would say, yeah, I guess we'll get into what it was doing narratively afterwards. But as for like just aesthetically, I thought it was cool. It did everything it needed to for the story too, so it wasn't something that distracted me away from it. If that was your question.
Gotcha. Well, I was just curious if the style worked for you or not.
Yeah, I think it did.
I
Yeah.
will say one part of the style, but this has more to do with like the cinematography, was the amount of gold. Like, there's so much
Yes.
gold in this movie, like gold sunlight,
Yeah.
rays of
Too
gold.
bright.
I just could not stand that. And actually, the comment our fellow
Our
theater
moviegoer, yeah.
attendee said afterwards was so on point. Would you do the honors?
Sure. That it looked like a Willy Wonka movie. So there's a lot of portions in here, and it's not throughout the whole movie, so it's just enough to be distracting. There's points in there where I think he's trying to convey a specific message, whether that be like hope or some positive thing, which is not what Frankenstein's about, by the way.
It's not positive
At
story.
all. It's none of it is positive. There's points in there where he throws it in there, and it's like a sunset or walking through a brightly lit forest, but it's too much. Like, this is, it's coming from this time where it's kind of a dark period, and they're dealing with a lot of these, questions. And one of the things that Mary Shelley is bringing up is like, what if man played God? And so it deals a lot with death, for one. It's like in this kind of dreary, overcast, like it's not an uplifting story. So
No.
all these moments just felt so out of place because the movie was delving too close to the book, but not close enough to where it was faithful.
Yeah.
And so these moments just kept reminding you visually, yeah, we're not trying to be like the book here.
Yeah, like for example, we're all aware, I think, of the premise of the story where Frankenstein goes out, gets a bunch of corpses, and he's like pieces them together to make Victor Frankenstein, or I mean the creature.
The creature.
So in this movie, because it's no longer, the 1930s, they're able to make that picture and kind of convey all of that visually. So you see him do all of this, and he's like chopping up limbs and putting things together.
Yeah.
And it's got this like beautiful, majestic gold light. And then the music was it was like one of those sequences in Harry Potter where the characters are like doing like training in Quidditch or something like that. Or they're putting a plan together, and it's like, wow, this is so great. Like, look at them like rallying
He's really
together.
in his creative space here. He's getting stuff done.
So it was like, his creative flow state music, super happy, gold light, and he's like chopping limbs up. What the heck?
Yeah.
Total dissonance.
The tonal dissonance was odd. I kind of forgave the tone of that because I can understand like Frankenstein would have to be that type of person in order to be like, I have a goal in mind, so I'm dehumanizing these corpses that I'm dismembering.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I understand visually it was trying too hard. It should have been a little bit more of like, this is really disturbing and dark. This isn't good at all.
Yeah.
But it was like, let's light it. It's sunlight coming through the windows, and he is just in his element. It was weird. So aside from that, I like the look of the creature. I thought it was interesting. It was creatively interesting because he looked like he was all kind of patched together, and they did that pretty interesting. It was good. I liked it.
I have mixed feelings on that one, actually.
Well, let's just keep the surface, and then we'll get into all those details Is there anything else that you want? Let's jump into spoilers if not.
You're right. You're right that he looks cool. I just didn't think he worked tonally for the story because again, it's like. But you're right. Actually, now that I think about it, I'll probably have to get into spoilers with that one. So yeah, you can jump into spoilers unless you have anything else to add.
I don't think so. I personally like the casting, but aside from that, I have no other comment.
Yeah, some of it. I don't know. It's like the cast fit the PG-13 version of this movie.
That is fair. Fair point.
I think that's where
I keep thinking of it that way. I always forget how like much they put into it just for the hell of it.
How much to make it R?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like they're so disconnected from the rest of the film. It was like, oh yeah, some of those were kind of gross.
Yeah.
For no reason.
It's so odd.
But anyway, let's jump into spoilers.
Let's do it.
Since we're 25 minutes in already.
That's fine.
Let's go through it.
Do we recommend?
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into the fact that I'm just gonna like when I went through the book, I realized what
So you've read the book once and now you think you're an expert, do you?
I'm an absolute expert. But I had a lot of preconceived notions just based on my understanding culturally of the character.
Okay.
Right? Thankfully, I've never made the mistake of thinking that the monster and Frankenstein were one. I knew that difference, so I'm not that bad. But
you can stay.
Thanks. I got that right. So when I read through the book, I was like, okay, this is a lot different than I thought it was going to be. The like point of the whole thing, like I said, was when we play God, what does that look like? What are the consequences of us doing things that we ask ourselves if we should? And that was what I was really hoping to see within the film. I was like, look, I'm willing to forgive a lot of, aesthetic choices or casting choices or whatever.
Or narrative changes a little bit along the way.
Yeah, creative licenses, fine. All right, I can deal. It was the ending. And we'll get to the ending, but the ending really just made sure that you understood that I am not interested in telling the story of Frankenstein.
Right.
And that's where I had the issue. And so I brought up an interesting question, which is what I would like to start this conversation with.
Okay.
Is that at what point do you stop forgiving creative differences? Like what? Because I understand that you're not going to be the same, right? Famously, you look at Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
There's going to be changes you have to make. And a lot of people have big problems with that movie of like, with Saruman going back to Hobbiton.
Yeah, that's totally not in the
It's not in the movie. Yeah. They just reject it altogether. They, in fact, kill Saruman. So, like, there's certain points where you're like, okay, but he kept the rest of that narrative together, and he told the story of Frodo bringing the ring to the Mount Doom.
Yeah.
With this one, when he got to the end and he did that, that's when I was like, okay, why would you choose Frankenstein then? It's just because of the fame that it holds in its name.
Yeah.
And that fame extends from the book to the Universal horror pictures, which is like Hammer, and then a bunch of adaptations that have just lasted throughout forever, like a couple centuries at this point. And so he seems like he took all of those as inspirations and he pieced them all together and then completely got rid of any other of the meanings that were impactful. I was like, okay, so you just ruined it. And there was no reason to do that.
I love how in your description of this, it's incredibly apropos as to what happens in the story of a character taking these different disparaged corpses, like the disgusting waste, and like stringing it all together, which just makes it even grosser and stranger.
To make a monster.
And then he creates this monstrosity, which doesn't have a soul now.
Which is what this movie is. It has no soul. So
that's actually a really apt description. It does feel like a very soulless film because what the movie he wanted to make was Beauty and the Beast. That's the movie he wanted.
Right. But then he just gets rid of Beauty immediately.
Yeah, well, it's not immediately. She doesn't come in. Well, I guess, yeah. Well,
like
I mean,
two scenes.
She's got like an important role early on, and then he gets rid of her, and then she comes back near the end, and then, we get rid of that arc, and then we continue. And then it becomes like some father-son story, father-son reconciliation, which is not at all what happens in the book either. So to go back to your original question, at what point do you recognize that it's like, can you rephrase it? Like, it's at what point do you acknowledge that it's now a different thing, or are you obligated, or how did you?
Yeah. So I mean, if you go back to our Star Wars video, we were talking about Rian Johnson, how when he took over Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
he used that to say that Star Wars doesn't matter. Right? He came in and was
Oh,
like, it doesn't
yes.
matter what came before. I'm making my own story, even if that means I
Right.
have to destroy everything that came before me. And it almost feels like Del Toro did something similar here, because he almost did the thing, right? Where you have to know all of the answers in order to get them all wrong.
Yes.
He got some of them right,
Right.
but the ending was just so fundamentally incorrect that it was like, okay, so have you read the book? Or have
I
you
called
not
it all
read the
into
book?
question.
Yeah, it was like, how did you? Because like that scene was right, but this one was not at all. Because the ending is the most important portion of that story,
I think so, yeah.
and so it was like, well, okay, so what did you do? What happened
So
here?
maybe we should break down the ending of the book then,
Okay,
so that way, and why don't you describe it to me? So like, what happens in the book, and then what about that is so significant to you that he missed?
what was so significant? Well, it kind of just solidified that question that you have throughout is like, what happens if you play God? And that was something horrible. It's not good. It's very, very bad. Don't do that. It's a very clear message. And this one, and so the book, Frankenstein tells a story, his whole story to somebody. So he explains how he created the monster.
Yes.
And then the monster comes on board the ship, and then he explains his side of the story. So you get to see both. And then at the end, as he's telling his story, Frankenstein dies. So he passes away before the creature is able to enact his revenge, his final act upon his creator.
Right.
It's taken from him.
Yes.
And so it's the last thing that he's holding on to.
Mm-hmm.
He can't have. And so
Yeah.
it's like, it's almost devastating. And it, like, because he writes it all, she writes it all Shakespearean. He's just like, oh, this one thing that I could have had in this life, my vengeance, my rage is the object of that is gone. And it's like, and so he kind of just fades away into obscurity. He's like,
The
there's
creature?
there's nothing left for me to do. He's like, so
Well, the creature, I mean, it's not, you don't ever get to find out, but the creature claims that he's just going to make like a funeral pyre and jump into it.
right.
So he's just going to end himself because there's no place for him in this world. But the book doesn't confirm whether or not it happens, which is great because as a ghost story,
Mm.
it's like the fact that it could still be out there, it
Right.
permeates after you've put down the novel. Yeah, okay.
So that was the point, was that he had lived in misery and rejection, that even in his final act, Frankenstein stole something from him
By dying.
by dying. And so it was like, and then aside from them taking away all the agency of what the monster does in the book, they just take it all away from him in the movie. I was like, well, these are all intentional things that are in there for a
Mhm.
reason. For instance, there's a character named William who they age up significantly in the movie
Mm-hmm.
in order to take away the impact of what he does. But he runs into a child in the woods and
In
then
the book.
finds out, in the book, finds out that he's related to Frankenstein and strangles him to death.
Right.
It's his first act of evil is that he strangles a child. I think he's like 11 or something.
Right, and he literally says that. Those are his own words. You'll be my first victim,
Yep.
and then puts him out. So like,
And he does it because he's related to Frankenstein.
and this is the thing about it, is that whenever you get that dialogue going about the story of Frankenstein, and you see the origins of the creature, he wakes up on this table and he's all alone. Victor's not there, his creator, and he's just lost and confused. So he goes out and he just kind of stumbles around, and then he just like eats some berries, finds some clothes, and then he has this kind of journey where he starts to recognize that people see him as some hideous monster. And he's like, oh, what do I do about this? And so then he ends up seeing this little farmstead, and he just watches this family, and he starts to feel sympathy for them. And so he kind of helps them with chores and stuff, but in an unseen way. It's through the night he does these activities. And when they discover in the morning, they're like, wow, we have like someone looking after us. Who is this person? And he's doing this in order to try to like gain trust with them. And then that's how he learns to read. And then he starts to, kind of gain some intelligence out of this. And then he makes this one push to like get someone to accept him so he can be accepted into society. And so he appeals to the older gentleman who lives there, who's blind. And the older gentleman, being blind, can't see what he looks like. So he's just like, "Oh yeah, like sure, you're a traveler. Sure. Well, how's your, what have you seen? What's happened? Let's tell me your story." And so they have this nice little chat, and then the rest of the family comes home, just sees what they think is a hideous monster, and they're like, "Get out of here!" And they're shooting him and stuff. So then, the creature is so devastated by this experience. He's just like, "I'm never going to be able to be accepted in society because I'm so hideous." So then he tries to go out, and he's kind of like in his lonesome, and then he sees this little girl drowning in a river. So he saves her just instinctually without really thinking about it. And then the father comes up and like blasts the creature and then takes the girl. So like I'm doing the quick version, but this is the events that happen in the book that make you really sympathize with the creature. Like, oh, this is terrible. I mean, he just has it so rough. Like he has a good heart, and no one's willing to appreciate that. But then he strangles that 11-year-old. And then it's like all the time when I'm doing these dialogues, it's like people forget that part. And then I have to remind them that, hold on. At some point, he decided that because society has treated me this way, I am now deserving of my own revenge. And so I will make this my victim because then it will hurt Victor by extension. And so then he just starts going on his rampage. And so this is like where he gets the character really wrong in the story, is that he builds up all this sympathy for him, but then he has scenes where he just goes around and murders like 15 sailors for no reason. And I'm just
In the
like,
movie.
in the movie, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so like the creature never murdered anybody arbitrarily in the book, not one. Every murder means something to Victor, which is why they're murdered. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it.
Right.
So that matters because it's like if the creature just goes out and starts murdering random people, then it just reinforces the narrative that he is a monster. You know what I mean? So it's like the sailors are now justified to just gun him down. And they try to, and then there's this scene later on where the creature gets on board anyways because he can't die, and he's just like smacks everybody around, and then he barges into the room where Victor's sleeping, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna like kill Victor or whatever." And then they say something about how Victor's telling his story, and then the creature's like, "Well, if he's telling you his story, I'll tell you my story." It's just like that in the movie, by the way.
Yeah.
And then
That part I got right.
And then the captain's like, "Yeah, all right, I'll hear your story." And I was like, "Okay, well, you shouldn't want to hear his story. You just have to hear his story because he'll kill you if you
Right.
don't."
Killed multiple of my men. He's moved a ship. I think I got nothing else to do here.
But he has like the sailor respond as if this is like just a sensible negotiation to be having.
Yeah.
When it's clearly not. It's like he forgot that like 15 of his people were just slaughtered mere moments ago. And I mean slaughtered because, it's like I got to have my cool horror moment. This is my problem with it. It's that he's just like, "Oh, it would be so cool if we have this creature like rip this guy's jaws off, and then just like slam him into the ground. It's just a bloody pulpy mess." And I'm like, what does that have to do with Frankenstein?
So one of the things that was interesting about the movie, which is I think another point against it, was there's a captain that's stuck in the ice, and they meet Frankenstein out there because they see one of his interactions with the monster.
Mm-hmm.
The book just finds Frankenstein out there, and so they pull him on board, and they basically pull him back to, I wouldn't say
Resuscitate him.
essentially,
bit,
yeah, because he's almost dead.
He has
So-
like pneumonia or something. Like he's
Right.
kind of a goner when the book starts.
So they pull him on, and the guy who he's writing to his sister about how he has no friends, and he's met this guy in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I really connect to this guy, so I'm going to talk to him. And he hears this crazy story. In the movie, it's the captain that is talking to Frankenstein, and the captain is supposed to have these parallels with Frankenstein. It's kind of pig-headed, single-track mind. He's like, we are going to get to our destination, even though we're stuck in the ice and my men are starving, they're freezing, we can't get this boat, we can't get this ship unstuck. And so he's completely ignoring what the effects are on his men, which is what it's trying to make a parallel with Frankenstein. And by doing so, he's able to grow by hearing Frankenstein's story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand what he's trying to do there, But you're right. The first thing that happens is that Frankenstein's monster kills a bunch of his men.
Yeah,
And
scene 1 just slaughters a bunch of people.
and that wouldn't be a huge problem except for the fact that the way he would change is he's like, okay, I see what I am doing wrong now. But in order to do that, I have to acknowledge that my actions led to this monster slaughtering my men, and someone has to account for that.
Right.
That would be the monster who did it.
Right.
The other thing that it removed was that it showed that the monster can't be killed. So this is one of the things I think it got almost right. In the book,
Well, can I say one thing about
sure,
that
yeah,
scene?
yeah, sorry.
Because later, when the movie's nearing its end and the creature is going to leave the ship, the sailor or the captain just kind of like shrugs. I can't remember what he said, but it was lame. And I remember I thought of what he should have said, and I've been holding to that because that was a much better
Okay.
thing. What he should have done was said like something to the effect of, "Well, you owed some help to my men because you killed some of my people just trying to get up here. And as a man of character, as you so proudly proclaim, you ought to atone for that. The least you can do is break us out of the ice and send us on our way."
Right.
And that now he could do that and be like, okay, well, I can't. There's no way to, like, this thing could kill me in an instant if it wants. I can't defeat it. We've established that. But the whole point of the story is that it's whether or not the creature like deserves to have like the status as a human being. Well, if it has human being status, then that means there are certain responsibilities it needs to respect.
Right.
Right. And so when the captain says something like that, he's essentially offering for the creature to be treated as a human being.
Sure.
And then the creature could accept that, and then it would work, like him slaughtering all those people at the beginning, because then it would be like, okay, he kind of lost his mind. He was just like, I don't care about anything. I have no morals. What does it matter? And then like after through telling the story, someone treats him with respect and is like, well, you did something wrong. I want you to do something right, and then we'll be square. And then the creature could recognize that as like a moment to honor his own humanity, which is what he's been seeking after the whole movie. So then it could have worked, but he screwed that up too. Anyways, go
I
ahead.
would have probably changed it even before then and been like, because it seems like he just kind of does it without thought. But then he shows that he's a really intelligent creature. And so what I would have done were I in that position is that I would have had the monster come up and say, you have something of mine. Give it back.
Yeah.
It's like, you will give me Frankenstein. And even if they are starting to shoot at him and stuff, he wouldn't take action until action is taken again against him. Because that is true to the book. Even if you're taking some of those licenses, he's only reacting to it. He's like, I just want Victor. So just send him back out. Let me do my thing. But do not hold him away from me. That's what I would have done. And then I would have had him sneak onto the boat. Instead of coming on all
like he does in the
gung-ho,
book.
and hulking it out, he would have just snuck on, come into the quarters, and then he would have been faced with the captain, in which case the captain would be more willing to hear him because he hasn't butchered a bunch of his men for no reason.
Yeah.
And then he would have known Frankenstein's story, so he'd have been like, well, I'm going to be a fair arbiter of the situation, listen to what you have to say, and then determine the judgment. And in that case, then, yeah, I would have been like, okay, yeah, he hasn't treated you like a human. He created you and then just left you to your own devices, and therefore I will extend a different favor. Since I'm going to bring my men back home, release us from the ice, and then I don't know, whatever it would have been to like offer him something.
Well, that's what I mean. Like if he murders some of the crew in the process, then he could be like, then you'd be atoned for that.
Right.
Right.
So
But again, yeah, they just need some kind of like, economy, some trade has to happen here.
Right. So one of the interesting questions, so we did this for a book club. One of the interesting questions it brought up was obviously the nurture versus nature thing, because Frankenstein creates the monster. And so nothing happens, right? He waiting, nothing happens. He goes back upstairs, goes to bed.
Well, in the book, he basically is like working on the monster. He's like stitching him up or whatever, and then the creature wakes up. There's really no scene, and then Frankenstein just kind of he just kind of freaks out.
Yeah.
It's like it finally became real to him what he was doing. Like he hadn't really registered it. He was just in this like depressive artistic stupor. So when that happens, he flips out and he just like he goes upstairs or whatever, and then he hears the creature stumbling around downstairs. It's a very creepy scene. And then he does go to bed, I think, and then in the next morning the creature's broken out and left, and then he
Right.
doesn't know where it is, and he's just like, well, I guess I'm free of it.
Yeah, that's it. All right. And it does get one of those scenes right. There's a scene where Oscar Isaac goes out and sits on the stairs, and he's like, I didn't really think about what would happen if I made it work.
Mm-hmm.
I was so focused on making it work that I didn't focus on what the consequences could be.
Right.
And that was great. I was like, that was the line that actually rang true to what the book was trying to do. Because it's true. Frankenstein just goes as if he didn't create something monstrous.
Yeah.
It escapes. He's like, well, I got things to do. I guess I'll just get back to life. And just completely ignores what he'd done. And so if I'm not mistaken, I have to go check on this. I should have checked earlier, but you are giving me a different version than I think I read.
Oh, really?
So I read that, so he goes in, and it's like a desperate panic. He goes into this old guy, the blind one. So there's a cabin in the woods, and he's like watching all of their movements and habits and things. So once it starts to get cold, he's like, well, I don't need sleep. I don't need all this other stuff. He's like, every night when they're indoors, I'll shovel their pathways. I'll gather their firewood. I'll hang some like rabbits and stuff for them to eat in the morning. So they start to call him the spirit of the forest. But he doesn't want to be seen. And so he just remains hidden. But he watches them until he starts to understand language. He starts to understand reading. He starts to understand communication methods. So the family leaves. They go out on a hunting trip or something. And the guy is home alone, the old guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes in and he's like, hey, I know you can't see me, but I'm the one that's been helping you. When they get back, I need you to vouch for me.
Yes.
And he says, yeah, I can do that. That's fine. Totally, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, doesn't even think twice about it. So he's standing there holding that until when the people come back in and they just flip out.
Yeah.
They're like, kill him. He's dead. If I remember correctly, what I was reading was that he takes that and sets fire to the house and then realizes what he's done and saves the little girl out of the flames. Now, I don't know if that's a version that exists, but I could have swore that's what I was reading.
No, I don't think so. I think the little girl scene just happens afterwards.
Okay.
That's what I remember. I don't remember.
I'll have to look that up as to why I remember this scene as it exists. Either way, the point was that he saves a child.
Yeah.
And then immediately kills William. It's like, also child related to Frankenstein. You're done.
Well, yeah, because as I said, the hunters, or the parent of the child is a hunter, and then he comes and takes her away, and then has a moment where he turns back around and blasts the creature.
As one does.
Because, it's like, I gotta make sure that thing dies.
Yeah, get out of here.
Even though it clearly just saved your kid, I mean, maybe like take 2 seconds to think about that. But
yeah, because it was while they're hunting him down or whatever, and he stumbles over it.
Yeah, something like that.
So in the movie, what happens there is that he's standing in there, and there's wolves that have gotten in and gotten to the old man. The creature saves him, but when they come in, they just see the old guy all kind of messed up from the wolves.
Yeah.
And so
all the dead wolves are there too.
Yeah, there's a bunch of dead wolves.
They didn't bother to factor that in.
And they just shoot him. Yeah. Instead of understanding that, like, oh, there's a bunch of dead wolves, he's standing next to the old guy, and the guy is still breathing, so this must have been the case. So they took away that. It wasn't just a rejection. It was, they attributed an action to it now. It's that the old guy is now in a state of, it's a compromised state, so they can attribute that to the monster. In the book, there was no compromised state. The man was healthy and just sitting there. They just reacted to his appearance. It was the fact that he looked that way that they reacted the way they did.
Yes.
What they did that I liked, and this is the one thing that I thought was strong in the film, is that when he goes outside to run away, they chase him down and shoot him. Now, in the book, he gets shot, he goes, and he just kind of agonizes for a while until it heals. In the movie, he actually dies. So they shoot him, he lands, life fades away, and then it comes back.
Yeah.
So what they are basically telling you is that because Frankenstein pieced together all these bits, it's no longer who he was, or any number of who he was. Because I think there's like 4 or 5 different people he's comprised of. So now it's a new entity that has been created by not God. And because of that, he has nowhere to go. This is life and afterlife. We are stuck here. This is his purgatory. This is his hell. This is his heaven. Whatever he makes it.
Yeah.
It is his eternity. And I thought that was fascinating. I was like,
Yes,
that's
it
an
was.
interesting idea. See, that is a creative license that feels like it is pulled from the book, because that does not happen in the book, but it ends in a way that kind of leads you to believe that that is a possibility. Is that
Yes.
the creature is now here in endless misery, stuck to face the consequences of its creator.
Well, and to that, the idea of um, a creator and its creation is deeply entrenched with the novel.
Yeah.
It's profoundly concerned with this because and like the parallels between like God and man are, you could just write about that all day long and with regards to this book. So I agree. I also responded really well to that because even though it was not something in the book, it was really appreciative because it was a moment where Del Toro was, or the writer or whoever was looking at it and going, in this story, what would happen if the creature actually did die?
Yeah.
Because the book doesn't explore that. But given what it said about how, this creator is, and this creation isn't done in such a way that it's supposed to be. So what does that mean? And so this now presents something for us to think about and ponder and use in comparisons with the two. So this is the kind of conversations I would wish we were having more of throughout this
Agreed.
whole episode. It should just be nothing but these things of like, that was interesting. It was different, but that had a different layered meaning to it that was welcome. Because now it's like, one of the relationship things between Victor and his creatures, that the creature says, you created me without recognizing that I'm not going to have, any way to really exist or enjoy life because I can't have any community. And so he pressures Victor to make him another creature, this time a female, because he's like, I'm off on my own here. Like, you have an obligation to take care of me. And then Victor initially agrees to this, but then he thinks about it more later and he starts to question it. Because, for one, there's no guarantees that this second creature is going to even want to be with the first one.
Yeah.
Because she would be brought into the world for a specific purpose, and everything has been decided for her already. And that's precisely what the first creature resents so much.
Right.
So it would just be creating the same thing all over again. And then it's like there's the issue of like, well, would they be able to procreate or whatever? It's like, would that happen? And then if so, like, what does that mean?
What would it create?
Yeah, what would it create, and how much more of a problem is this going to be? Not that they're like problem people, but in a sense they are, if especially in or at least it's affirmed that they are in the movie because he can't die. So I'm like, okay, so he's in perpetual torment. He's just going to exist here all the time. And how do you end the story then like that? And the way he chooses to is a very like Hollywood, like,
Yeah.
it all works out in the end.
Ugh.
He's got a new perspective on life. It's like, he
Well-
just murdered a bunch of people. You don't just switch. Like, he's gone down a dark path. This is the part that we're not understanding. We got to accept that basic premise.
Yeah, so what do you think they failed at most egregiously? Is it Frankenstein or is it the monster?
Well, I mean, it's the ending, like you said, but I think it's very much, well, we'll see. Maybe ask me that question in a bit because I haven't had a chance to rant about all the things I hate about
Okay.
the way they did for Victor. Because with Victor, they like screwed that up royally because his whole origin story now is that he's a mama's boy and his father is mean and abusive and controlling, and then his mother dies in childbirth, and it's ridiculous. I was like, we're going through this. I was like, that is not Victor's father. Victor's father was a really kind, sensitive man. That's who he was. All of Victor's family is really nice to him. It really matters because in the book, Victor does this. He creates this monster for no reason. Yeah, it's his own volition. Nobody tells him to do this. Nobody says it's a good idea.
He in fact says that he regrets allowing himself to walk down that path. He's talking about certain authors that he's reading, and he says initially, I wish someone had told me or given me things that oppose those ideologies,
right,
in order for me not to have gone down this path.
Yeah.
But instead, he just follows that whim despite what other people are saying or potential warnings that he's given,
Mm-hmm.
and it leads to this outcome. So yes, it was important as to why, and it is made sure in the book. No, Frankenstein's the only one responsible for this. It's not mommy issues. It's not daddy
Right.
issues. Frankenstein did the wrong thing all of his own accord.
And in the movie, it's like they felt the need to go back to his origin story and
Right.
explain why he
Well,
did that
mommy died.
with generic,
Right.
talking points we've seen a million times, and then never refer to it ever again throughout the whole movie.
They just
that-
wanted to give you a justification as to why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
Well, of course he's sociopathic. Of course he doesn't care. Of course he can go through a army of corpses and pick out the parts that he wants the most. Because he's been beaten, and he had to see his mom get beaten and treated badly. And,
Right. And he needs to, he could right that wrong or
Right.
whatever. And it's like, oh, gosh. So, yeah, that part was very annoying because it was just senseless. It was just a waste of time when you could have been spending it actually focused on the character. And so then, it moves forward in time, and they invented a new character who's basically our replacement for Fritz. Fritz is, of course, everybody wants to call him Igor, but it's actually Fritz in the original movie and the Universal movie. Now, the Universal movie made up the character of Fritz, the humpback, yes, Frankenstein. They make him up for a couple of reasons. One, because otherwise you'd be watching one character do a bunch of things and there'd be no dialogue whatsoever, so it'd be kind of boring. And then the other reason they do that is that it's Fritz who kind of torments the creature and who's mean to it in the original Universal Picture movie. So that was kind of the way of kind of establishing what's happening there. And Victor's weirdly more accurate in that original movie than he is here. It's that much of a disparity. But in this one, he doesn't have Fritz, and instead he has Christoph Waltz, who plays this, I don't know,
beneficiary, we'll call him.
Beneficiary, yeah. And so he funds the project for Victor.
Well, so back up a little bit. He is the father of William, who is Victor's brother. I'm sorry, he's the father of William's fiance or soon-to-be fiance.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Have some kind of connection, but he meets him by going out there to see one of Frankenstein's demonstrations. So he goes to a college and he has this,
which Frankenstein would have never done, but I'll
Sure,
address that in a moment. Go ahead.
So he's trying to get people to think outside the box. And for what it's worth, I was like, I can kind of understand how you would be able to justify this narratively, I suppose. So he's got this thing on the board, and he's trying to convince them to think outside of the rules. Break the rules. No one cares about the books. Throw the books out. We're supposed to push the boundaries of science. And so he's got, half of a corpse on this board. And he's like, if you apply these electrodes, you can bring what it's a semblance of life back to it. He's like, this is a corpse. This is something dead. But if I put it in, I can make it react in a reflexive way. So he's like, I can throw something at it and I'll catch it. And but it won't have a soul. It won't have life. It just has the semblance of life.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but if we try harder, if we study this more, we can actually bring life back to corpses. And so he's doing it. And of course, it brings up the uproar of oh, this is reprehensible. This is a magic trick. And so the college is pushing back on him. But Christoph Waltz, being a benefactor, and he has his own motivators that you find out later.
Yeah. No,
he comes up and he's like, I'll fund your project so you can have whatever you want to do this thing that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives him the avenue of creating, the lightning and bringing
the lightning rod or whatever.
Frankenstein, it's alive! He's the one that creates the lab.
He
does not say. No.
I couldn't even get that.
I know.
It's alive.
It would have been great if Oscar Isaac was in there. It's alive! He didn't even get that, unfortunately. But whatever.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just so many layers of problems. So he goes in to tell the dignitary or the academics, this whole project, like you were saying, and he gives the most atheistic message ever in a room full of people in which that is not the common thought. The cultural zeitgeist is that everybody believes in God at that time period.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, something wrong with you, and you're going to be ostracized from society. So that's why he would never present that to them, because he knows instinctively what they would say. and why it would have to be handled very carefully. So it should have
Yeah,
been
you would have been called. It would have been abomination, evil,
right.
heresy.
It
I mean, you might have some of the thing. It depends on where exactly that lands in with Darwin and his theories.
mhm.
Because I mean, imagine that's around a similar time, but it's not going to be such a common thought to where they will be able to listen to that and like, not burn him at the stake. That's going to be
Right.
some serious questions.
Certainly not when you demonstrate with an actual corpse in the
Right?
room. It's like, oh
Exactly.
my gosh.
Sure.
Again, for a movie's sake, he's like, here's a visual way to show off how far he's come along.
Yeah.
I get that, but like, it's just, so okay, then you have like the beneficiary character, which I think is fine, and you want to do the lightning rod thing, which I think is fine because the Universal movies are very well loved for what they are. They helped solidify Frankenstein as a cultural icon. I get it. It's a visual way to show the character resuscitating. It's fine. I'm not pushing back against that. But then you've got like I was losing my train of thought there.
You're talking about Igor and Fritz initially,
Yeah, so
or
Christoph Waltz
Igor.
replaces the Fritz character, which again was fine because it's like that if anything that makes for a better justification for what he's doing. Oh yes, here's what I was gonna say. But they're the ones who established that Frankenstein is all butthurt that his mom died and he blames his father and whatnot. So then why doesn't he just use this technology to resurrect his mother?
Right. Which is
Because that's his motivation, according to the movie. You see, in the book, it worked because that wasn't his motivation.
right.
The motivation was to prove to the world, with it alive in tandem, I'll just walk in there, it'll be standing there, and I'll be like, see, I did it.
Yep. Because I can was
Because I
basically
can.
his reason.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. It's hubris.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that hard to.
Yeah. His motivation was just recognition.
Yeah.
These are the great things that Frankenstein can do.
Yeah. And for the record, it would have been perfectly fine to do the movie of just him going out and like digging up like graves and stuff and collecting corpses. Like all you need to be is like a really good director with a great cinematographer and a great composer, of which you had 2 of the 3. No gold. Still think the cinematographer would have been fine. No gold. Just tell him no more gold, and we continue. Because I mean, you look at Nosferatu, like that sequence. Like, there's a couple of like him going to the castle and then him being in the castle. There's a lot of stretches of time, no dialogue, or like I've not seen it yet, but There Will Be Blood. I hear people talk about like, oh yeah, it's got this crazy long sequence with it's just Daniel Day-Lewis and he's carrying your attention the whole way through. Like, you can do that in a movie. Castaway is another example, right? So it's not like you've never seen this put to film before. But what he wants like a popcorn movie that everybody can sit down and watch. And so then he's like constantly beating against the dark nature of the story and then having a good laugh when Victor's like sawing, a leg off and
It gets real gross. So the benefactor is, and this is probably where its political motivations come through. He's someone who funds the war. And so he's like, I'm only making money as the war goes on. Once the war's over, my funds dry up. So he's like, but because I'm involved, I can send you out to the battlefield and you can have your pick of the corpses. And so there's a scene where Frankenstein's out there marking a bunch of bodies to be brought back to his study so he can put them all back together in this mishmash, create the monster. And like, there's a reason that he uses multiple, and it's to make something greater than man. It's supposed to be super tall, and it's supposed to be super strong, and it's supposed to be hyper intelligent, all these things. So he's like, I'm gonna get the best of all of them. So that femur and that arm and that torso.
Yeah.
So he creates his perfect thing, his creature. And he puts it all in, and this is all done by the benefactor. The benefactor later is revealed to have, I think it's syphilis or something. And he wants to use his brain in the monster. So he wants to use the monster for his own immortality. And, since he's a smart, successful man, it will improve this creature that he's created, this monstrosity. But he ends up dying. So, like, in that essence, it kind of captured a little bit of the theme of hubris. Because he's like, I want to use my brain. And he slips and falls and cracks his head open. That's what kills him. And that part actually got a giggle out of me, because when he falls, Frankenstein goes and picks him up, and his head's all busted open, and so his brain's kind of spilling out. And I was like, the one thing he wanted to save is the one thing that killed him. That part made me laugh. I was like, that's good. All right, I can deal with that. But then the creature's made, and then it adds in all of this intention. So what the book does when he abandons this creature and he just leaves it up to his own devices, he has no idea what it's capable of. He knows what he's made,
Right.
but he doesn't know the extent of its capability. He doesn't know if it's intelligent. He doesn't know how much agency it has. He just knows that it's alive now and it's gone.
Yes.
But to him, he's like, but to acknowledge that would be to accept the consequences. Therefore, I'll just
Right.
continue life as it doesn't exist.
Right.
I'll just let the consequences land where they may.
Yeah.
That's the point of the book.
So he's agnostic,
Right.
not atheist.
Exactly. In the movie, he keeps the monster and intentionally causes harm.
Yep.
Beats it,
Chains it up.
antagonizes it, humiliates it. It finally says his name, and he gets mad that all it can say is his name.
Mm-hmm.
So then he just treats it even worse. He chains it up in this dark, dank dungeon.
Because it's the behaviors inherited from his father.
Right. So it's attributing all of this intent to Frankenstein, where the point was that he doesn't want to acknowledge this miraculous thing that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Here he does, but he hates it.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't hate it in the book.
Right.
He wanted it to not exist. He wanted to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
He just wanted to do this great thing without realizing what that great thing could have brought about. Then when the great thing happens, he's like, oh, now I'm thinking about all the consequences that this could bring about. So I think I'm just going to ignore them all.
Yeah.
I know that I've done this thing, but I don't even want to acknowledge that truth.
Yeah.
And here, he's like, well, I don't know what to do with this thing, so I'm just going to mistreat it like it's my own child, and I'm like my dad. And it's like, well, now you are, because we had that conversation about nature versus nurture. It's like, this creature's left to its own devices. So at first, it tries to go in a good direction. It tries to go and learn and be productive. And it wants to be accepted because it does these productive things. And then it's rejected. And therefore, it goes down an evil path. And so it's like, okay, but all these things are done mostly because of it, right? It does these good things, but then people just can't get past how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take that personally and then attribute that to like taking life from other people. So that's in the book. In the movie, now you've mistreated, so you've just removed all the agency. Now it has to respond in a negative way because that's all it knows is being chained up in this dungeon and beaten for nothing, essentially, because it's a baby. It's like if you gave birth and you're beating the baby because it's not talking directly out of the womb.
Right.
It's like, well, what did you expect, man? It's got to take in some information first. So it removes all that agency and removes the interesting discussion that surrounds it.
Right. Yeah, because it belittles the character of Victor, where it just makes him just a stock villain that we've seen 10,000 times over again. It would have been more interesting if, let's say, you wanted to continue with the way the movie has it. Maybe Victor isn't freaked out, but he recognizes that the creature can't really talk or whatever. So at first it's amusing to him, and then after a while he's just like, all right, but it's just like a mindless drone, whatever. So he just like lets it out. He's just like, yeah, just go, just whatever. He's like, it'll just collapse and die somewhere. Like, who cares? And like it'll and then that
because it can't take care of itself, can't eat.
Yeah,
can't,
exactly.
Like,
that's what he would justify. It's like it can't take care of itself, so like whatever. It's just a fail because he does sort of say this a little bit where he's like, well, this is a failed version and I have to do better. So he just goes back into his obsession. I could have worked with that. I would have been like, all right, well, that's like a way to interpret the character. It's not how it happens in the book, but it's still an interpretation that's valid within the the ethos of what the book proclaims to be about.
What I would have done is probably, since he's like scientist, he's in that creative space. He creates this thing and it's flawed. It's flawed because it's not the most intelligent thing, right? And that's what he's noticing. He'd want to fix the problem. So I wouldn't have him directly like torment the creature, but what I would have him do is try to now fix that problem, which would mean he's like, well, I need a brain.
Oh.
So now he would be operating on this live creature, trying to put in something to give it like a sentience or intelligence.
Yeah, not recognizing that it already has it.
Either that or, it would be now this thing is just receiving pain because it's being operated on. So like he's just being poked and prodded and all this other stuff. And by essence, that would lend to it. So Frankenstein's not recognizing the torment he's putting this creature through because that itself would lend to what the book's trying to do. Again, I like that he just abandons it. That's the point. That was the crux of the story.
Yeah.
And he removed that. So it's like, well, now what do? You got to fix it somehow. So his hubris would blind him to the fact that he's doing this to a living creature. But the living creature would eventually stumble out or escape or something just to get away from the torment. But in here, he tries to kill it. He surrounds it with gasoline. He lights the thing on fire. He lights the building that it's in fire, and it has to escape. And that's how it leaves, and then get the subsequent scenes. So, all in all, I don't think that it accomplishes what it's trying to do on either side. Like I said, he's taking too many different sources of inspiration rather than just taking the book and adapting it the best he can. He's trying to do the universal thing. He's trying to do the book thing. He's trying to do his own thing, his own interpretation shoved in there amidst all the other things.
Yeah, let's sprinkle a little Beauty and the Beast along the way.
Exactly.
Because that's the thing, too, is he has Elizabeth, who is no longer marries Victor in this. She marries his brother instead, or she's his betrothed. And the thing about her character in this is that she's a total weirdo. Like, she's a goth girl. She likes bugs and, like, strange things for women
the
at
system,
the time.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But then when the creature's made, she babies it and cares for it. And she's like, oh, like, it's so sad or whatever. And he's like, well, it's not intelligent or whatever. And I'm like, so then she gets put into this very stereotypical feminine role, which I guess is fine. And then you continue down that path, and then it becomes like a slight romance between her and the creature. Like, she always remembered him. And it just felt
it always remembered her.
Yeah, I'm like, I just feel like I've seen this 1,000 times. Like, I get the whole point is, like, she's supposed to show him, like, the goodness of humanity. But it's like, you don't need to waste all this time having Victor be mean to him and her be nice to him. Because the point is that he's just lonely and abandoned. So you need to capture that. So it just needs to be an afterthought. It's like, we don't need to do all this stuff because then it just keeps leading into, like, a Beauty and the Beast or whatever narrative. And it's like, that's not the story. That's a different story. If you want that, go do something else.
Which was the other thing in the book that was so impactful that kind of lent to the hubris of Frankenstein was that the monsters declared war on him. He's like, we are now at odds. You abandoned me. I've had to suffer all this evil because you wouldn't walk me through life, essentially. So now I'm going to visit all this kind of evil. And the thing that he says was like, I will be there on your wedding night. And Frankenstein,
in his infinite wisdom,
just takes that as that means me.
Right. He's going to attack me on my wedding night, of course. I'll defend myself.
Right. So instead of, because Frankenstein's already killed his brother, this child.
Yeah.
So instead of understanding that, like, oh, he's not going to go after me, he's going to go after the people I love, he just attributes that directly to himself. So he gets married, and then, of course, he can't relax on his wedding night. So his wife's like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Because he's just going around checking all the doors. He's got a pistol now. He's ready to go. And he's like, just go to your room, honey. I will handle this problem. I'm like, you wouldn't, because I'm reading it, and I'm just, like, inserting myself in the story. Like, wouldn't you want her with you? Like, why are you at home? Why are you not somewhere else where he might not find you?
Right.
Like, where are you going to your own home, and why are you letting your wife out of your sight? But then I was like, oh, it's because he's an idiot, and he just attributes everything to himself.
Right.
It's just about him.
He's that narcissistic, yes.
And so, of course, she goes to her room, and the monster kills her in her room.
Right.
Because Frankenstein didn't check his own room and thought that it was after him and not his wife.
Right.
So he separates himself. In the movie, it removes all that agency. Not only, so William is now an adult child, an adult brother, and he's engaged to Elizabeth. So the monster shows up asking for a mate. So they remove the fact that he's killed William already. So Frankenstein just is now faced with this thing that he's created that he doesn't want to acknowledge. So comes in, asks for a mate, and he says no, and they get into a fight, and then everybody joins into the fight, and William's thrown against the wall.
Yeah, and that's
so it is completely takes out the fact that he kills William on purpose because he's related to Frankenstein. He just is he's just the unfortunate event of a circumstance that had nothing to do with him in the first place. But then through all that, Elizabeth also gets shot, and the monster grabs her and takes her out into the wilderness to, like, it's just straight out of the Hulk movie. Yeah, when he gets attacked and he grabs the girl and runs to the wilderness.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh, okay, so
it's the caveman bonk a lady and pull her by her hair back to the cave. It's like that scenario all over again.
Right. So he's trying to save her. She dies, obviously, and the only one thing that he loves in the world. So then the movie like reverses the roles. Now Frankenstein is hunting down the monster, and it removes
Well,
all.
that happens in the book, though.
Right, but there's nothing else that the monster does against him. It's just Frankenstein's rage against the monster.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, okay, this isn't what led up to it though, because like Frankenstein, he professes his love to Elizabeth at one point, but a couple of years have gone by since that point. And it makes it very clear that there's time, in the movie, between the time that he admitted that to now where he's accepted that his brother's marrying her.
Yeah.
So it removes all that. It's not his wife.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, he's kind of like moved on, I suppose, but I guess you could still have feelings there or whatever. But his brother and his wife, and the fiance die in the same night by the monster because of what he did. And I guess that's where they were trying to do it, because he's the one that shoots the gun at the monster and hits Elizabeth because she stands in the way.
Yeah, and she defends the monsters.
Right, she like, no. So like, I understand.
Another generic movie thing to do.
It is. And I understand that they were trying to insert Frankenstein's hubris in that because he blames the monster rather than himself who fired the shot.
But the problem with all of that is they have Oscar Isaac in the role, and, you know, he's hot stuff. So, like, people just routinely are going to be like, whatever. Like, well, Victor Frankenstein was, a good character. And it's like, no, he was a bad person. He's abusive. He makes a monster. He shoots that woman after he was being totally unreasonable to the creature.
Right.
Like, it's like just layers upon layers. Like, he was a bad person. But, by casting Oscar Isaac and then, like, meddling so much with, like, his background and everything, it just ruined the character completely. I'm like, my God, like, if you had just followed it, like, true to, like, well, it's just, he has this flaw. It's hubris. He just feels like he's entitled to be able to cheat death for some reason, and that he refuses to take responsibility for his actions. He has all these humanistic tendencies, like things like he does care about people. He does have these, these redeemable traits. The character does.
He was treated badly by his daddy. So.
Yeah, so then it's just like, let's just use that as a buffer instead of interrogating the character Victor. Well, he had daddy issues or whatever. And it's just...
So did the monster,
I
by the
don't
way.
need that. I've seen that story 10 billion times.
Right. And
This
Mary
story isn't
Shelley
about
did
that.
it first and did it better. We should have just gone with that.
Right.
So, so the end of the movie, just to get to our least favorite part, not only does it show, I know this is a nitpick, but whatever, I hated it. So Victor's going out after the monster in this frozen wasteland, and he's carrying with him dynamite. I was like,
oh, yes.
that's kind of effective. I think that would work. The movie goes out of its way to be like, nope. I'm like, well, how the heck would that not work? So he goes out, he catches up to him, he pulls him out of his tent and breaks his fingers. And he's like, what are we doing out here? Are you going to try and kill me again? And he's like, is that the method that you're going to try and kill me with? Let's try it. So he picks up the dynamite and he holds it, like holding it in his hands. And he lights it. And he's like, better run. So Frankenstein starts running. The monster's standing there holding the dynamite and it blows up. And I was like, okay. And it intentionally shows that it blows off like a couple of bits of his fingers, and it lights his cloak on fire. No, he would have been vaporized. There'd be nothing left. So I was like, that would have been an interesting concept, except for the fact that you showed me that if he dies, then his soul just returns to its body. So if you vaporize the body, I wonder what would happen. But like, they show that nothing realistic happens when the dynamite goes off in the first place. So I was like, that's I know it's a nitpick, but I was like, this was stupid. You could have removed this. You could have just taken this out of the movie.
Well, that if anything, that felt like a jab at people who'd read the book.
Yes.
Because he was like, because we all know who've read it, that the creature claims that he will jump into a funeral pyre and just kill himself that way. So he'll just incinerate himself. And so we're thinking, okay, I guess that would work. I mean, he is just a corpse, right? Like,
right.
So we're assuming that works. So when he does the dynamite, he's like, no, that's not going to work because it's my story now. Right. And in my story, he lives.
Yeah, and it doesn't even touch him. He's basically Superman. So is his clothes. So at the end, he's done telling his story to the captain. He then turns to Frankenstein. And instead of Frankenstein being dead as he should have been, Frankenstein's got tears in his eyes. Like, I have mistreated you. I just hope you can find it in your not beating heart to forgive me. And then without skipping a beat, the monster's like, I forgive you, father. And it's like, what? No, he
Right.
doesn't. He gets that taken away from him. That's removed. He's not his father. He's his creator. He doesn't like that. He hates it.
He doesn't like it.
But he's like, you know what? Of all the stuff we've been through, let's let bygones be bygones. I'm like, that's not, you missed the whole point, dude. And then Frankenstein dies. So I was like, give me a break. And not only that, he's like, all right, well, got nothing left to do. So I guess I'll shove the boat into the water. Captain, you should bring your men back home. I should. You're right. You're very right. I've learned a lot from these stories that I've heard. So push us out, let us free. And you can just wander the wastelands of the Arctic for the rest of time. And the monster says, yes, I will. And in fact, I think the universe agrees with this, because as I turn to walk into nothing, the sun will rise and it will shine on my face and everything will be right. In fact, I'll smile about how right it is now that I have achieved forgiveness. I'm like, dude, this is not what the story was about. If you're gonna choose Frankenstein, you have to get enough of it right. Like, I understand you have the Universal Pictures and stuff, and for whatever reasons, they have their own depiction of Frankenstein. But if you're going to show that you're trying at least to get with the book, get that right at least.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he's like, I have achieved peace or nirvana or whatever it is because I've forgiven my creator, my abuser. No, that's not what it was about. He kills himself because he's taken the right of killing Frankenstein himself. And he's like, I have nothing left to live for on this world. I will remove the world of my evil.
But he's not evil anymore.
But he's not evil anymore. He's given
According
now.
to the wish.
It doesn't matter if he killed 30 people. It's fine. He's done.
You see, by that point, I had just completely given up. So if it meant very little to me, I agreed with everything you're saying. There's not a single thing I could challenge.
Okay.
But I just also cared a lot less at that point. I was just like,
You butchered this so much that this doesn't matter.
Yeah. It was just like, it was just like a cringy, watered down milquetoast way to close out the story.
It was him trying to appeal to mass audience.
Yeah, and just be like, well, here's a nice, satisfactory ending. Like, look, it's good.
You chose
like,
gothic horror, and you claim that you're, going close to the book. Aside from like the parents and stuff, like you could tell he's trying to put some inspiration from the book in there. But you chose gothic horror.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, you got the Netflix contract. It's like, okay, well, you've got two factors against you now. This is not going to appeal to like a mass audience. This is going to appeal to Netflix people. And like, you got the Del Toro name. So like, I think you should have just taken a risk. Just going full dark gothic horror. You don't have to go full Eggers on the thing, but like, commit. But the fact that he tried to do that is like, this isn't a Hollywood release, man. You had a limited theatrical release. There's no reason for you to have done this. In fact, if you're going to do that, you should have pulled back on some of the body horror, given the PG-13 rating, and made it more fun.
Exactly.
But you kept playing around back and forth, so this tonal dissonance was just like, ugh.
That is the movie's biggest flaw, is the fact that it wanted to juggle things that just cannot
mix. They don't mix.
They're like fundamentally incompatible. Like, it's like he wants a fun fantasy story, but like the subject matter is like slicing up corpses and stringing them together.
Right.
It's like, this is disgusting. Like, I don't know why you would want to try to sugarcoat something like that.
Yeah. Let's all acknowledge this for what it is.
Yeah.
Ew.
And I get like some of the, because there's probably going to be people out there like, well, what about the symbolism of the movie? Which was there. Like, I just didn't really know what to do with it, because it wasn't like the book at all. Like, for example, the creature, when he gets zapped, he's out in like a crucifixion type pose. So I'm like, okay, so you're subtly hinting that the creature is like, a savior for mankind or something. So now I've got that on the brain. So then I go through the story and I'm like, well, he just murdered those people on that boat. That didn't seem like something Jesus would have done.
No.
And also when they pull up the ladder and he can't get on the boat again, they reach over the side and they shoot the ice and then he fell straight into that water. I didn't see any walking on water, not one bit. So Jesus, this is not.
Yeah, missed it. Shoot, missed opportunity on that one.
And the end where he pushes, because they established at the very beginning that the captain character is like. His first mate's like, oh, the men are, they're demoralized. They want to go home. They don't want to do this. They're a bunch of pansies. And then the captain is like, oh, yeah? It's like, Ben, we're not leaving until we get what we came for out here in the Arctic, which we never explained, but who cares? Get back to work. And so he's basically like a slave owner. And then at the end of the story, he relents, and then the creature pushes away the ship, and it's a visual representation of the captain letting go of his hubris of like trying to do the expedition out in the ice and just go back home and be a lazy SOB on the couch.
He signed a contract. He needs to get that job done. It doesn't matter what it costs, except for all the guys that the monster killed. That we're gonna have to just look past that.
Well, that just boosted their food rations. So if anything, that was a benefit.
Fewer meals to feed, guys. Meat's back on the menu, boys. Oh,
sheesh.
Well,
I mean, it's like I know we're filtering so much of this from the book, and there's going to be people.
That is the source material. That's it.
Well, yeah. So it's like
he even used the same font.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's like, and like the release date too, to bring it all together. Wasn't it November that the original book released? Isn't it like November 7th? It's like the same day.
Somewhere in, yeah. I mean, I didn't verify that.
Which
but
is
yes,
like
that's
this
what we were told.
extreme nuance, attention to detail. I'm like, if you can get that.
Yeah. Do it in the rest of the movie.
Right. So I don't know what he was thinking, like in constructing this monstrosity.
Maybe that's why.
I mean, it's like, yeah, maybe it's all meta with him. He's just like, you know what? I'm the creator.
Yep.
And I'll make a movie that doesn't make any sense in relation to the story.
I'll just ignore.
And then I'll just ignore it. Yeah, I'll just just ignore it. If that was the case, he should have made it way weirder.
Oh, yeah.
And then we would have picked up on it, or it would have seemed like it has validity, because it'd been like, this is the weirdest movie I think I've ever seen in my life. It's like just his thought dump. And then it'd be like, oh, so it's like his flow state. It's just like being in this weird headspace that like Victor was in. Then they create a monster, and then we just get the monster, and we're disgusted and horrified.
There you go.
Like that could work. You could just make a really weird movie.
You got to play into that though. Del Toro, whenever he's in some kind of interview about it, they're like, "So what gave you the idea of Frankenstein?" I didn't make Frankenstein. It's good.
Yeah, he should just deny and deny and deny.
Yep.
And be like,
I had nothing to do with that.
I'd be like, no, it was a creative project of mine, and then just kind of like talk around it, and like
in theory, it would have been real good if I had released it.
Yeah, as
Wait, it's out. What?
Oh yeah, well, have to appease the studios, something like that, because then he could be like, then it's like this artist statement. He does like a Ryan Johnson on us or whatever.
Well, anything else you would like to add for the film?
I feel like I want to try to say something positive about like just the movie. Just like, never mind the book, screw the book. And, just as a movie, how much does this work? And I'm like, there's things about it that are nice. Like, like we said, some of the effects, some of the production design was nice.
Sure.
Like, I love the coffins for his parents.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful, ornate coffins that they built. It's like there were moments in the movie that I was like, wow, like the Elizabeth wears this green dress at one point, which it was really interesting because she has this like kind of reddish orange hair. So it was a nice compliment with it. And then like she's in this kind of grimy scenario, the undergrounds of the castle.
Oh, yeah.
But then she's like this nature force, like a mother nature figure kind of goes in there.
And
to,
she's like
to
the
see
symbol
the
of beauty
creature.
in a dark place. So it's what the creature sees as he sees her.
Yeah. So like, I want to be more appreciative of those elements, but it's like I only appreciated them in total complete
Isolation. Yeah.
isolation from everything else the movie was about. Like my investment pops in and out periodically when there's a nice aesthetic choice, and then it's instantly gone because the story substance is totally either tone deaf or just completely wrong.
That's
So
fair.
it's kind of like, I don't want to say like this is the worst film ever made just because I gave it a star. Like
Sure.
there's merits to the film. It just doesn't come together. It doesn't.
Ignore that. I was trying to write a time code, and I forgot that my numbers are connected to whether it's recording or not.
And now you've just made more work for yourself.
That's a quick edit. That's an easy one. But, okay. Well, anything else you want to add for that? I agree with you on that stuff. I just feel like I threw all my stuff at the beginning, so there's really not much else that I can say to...
Oh, and like the symbolism or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else to add there.
Yeah, it's like, it's like I feel like we would have done it more justice if we just, again, keep poking at those symbolic moments and just what the film's doing. Like, for example, the wolves. It was not a horrible inclusion having the wolves
No.
attack the man
But like you said, you can now you add those elements in there where the guy's injured and there's dead wolves on the floor. And so instead of making the logical conclusion that he has defended this guy from the wolves because the guy's still alive and he's wounded from clearly bite wounds from the wolves, they still react the same way. The thing about the book was that it was so pure in its rejection that that's what really solidifies it for him, that there's nothing I can do to get past this unless everyone's
so it seems
blind.
like in the movie he should just try again.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that they shoot him to death in the movie, so you put that in there as well.
Yeah, and it's like, but again, it's like, it's so jarring. It's such a jarring film. Like, when that scene happens, I wanted to say this earlier, and then we kind of moved away from it. But, like, so they walk in, they see the dead wolves, they see their father all screwed up and dying, and then they see the monster guy, and they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But they don't just open fire. One of them pulls out, like, this scythe and does this, like, march up and...
Oh, yeah.
And, like, stabs him with the
It's not...
scythe.
Yeah, there's a lot of intention in the fact that he's like, I'm mad at you, and I'm
you're
gonna
kill
die. You. Yeah.
I'm going to kill you. I'm going to commit murder right here on screen for everybody. And it was just like this, what? And so then he has to have like, and like kill the guy. And it's like, ooh, like cool horror movie thing. That's totally what it was like. Like 100% just balls to the wall. You got your horror fix. Like, that was awesome.
Blood and guts, baby.
He just ripped that guy's face off. It was great. And then they step outside. And he's like, because he's got the scythe in him. And then as the creature's walking away, they're like gunning him down. And then it went like serious drama. And then it was like, oh my gosh, this like he's leaving. He's got a blade in him. Like, let it go. And instead, they're just like,
no, hunt that guy down.
Like,
make sure he doesn't get back up. And in fact, when we shoot him down, we're gonna leave his body out there. In fact, I hope the wolves come back. Just chew him up.
Yeah,
finish him off.
And that, like, the tone with, like, the lighting and, like, how it transitioned the scene, and you had the creature's monologue about him describing dying and then coming back. I was like, well, this is, like, a heart-wrenching moment.
Yeah.
Like, this is, like, really powerful.
Really sad.
How come it came off of the back of that completely ridiculous B-horror movie scene?
That's fair.
So it's like, I could not put the two together. It was like whiplash.
See, every time... I love that we've extended this trying to give it some kind of merit, but every time we bring something up, it just brings back the fact that the contrast and the tonal distance is the problem.
Such a problem movie.
So, every time he tried to give you something, it was like...
well, because I don't want people to be like, oh, well, like, you guys just didn't get it. No, I got it. I understood.
And in fact, we came to it with the understanding of what the original source material was, which is what he should have done in the first place.
Which is what he was describing. And, like, he makes painstaking effort to get certain elements right. And then totally ignores others.
Yeah, just gets rid of it.
Like, here, I'll give you a debatable one that's like the look at the creature, right? Like, this is one where I don't agree with the choice, but I see that it works for the movie. because the creature does have. He's like he comes across as human. I would want him to look way more horrific, like horrific. And then
Okay.
I would tell the actor, be like, you're going to have to make us care about you through your eyes, and then you're also going to have to commit to that murderous intent through your eyes at certain points. So that's the balancing act you have to do. So,
Gotcha.
like, you have, and like his body gestures and stuff were all great. Like, his very physical performance, like the actor was fine, but I'd be like, you've got a tall order here because we're going to make you look unbelievably hideous. I want the audience to be like, oh gosh. Like, I want them to just be like uncomfortable, like, that's disgusting looking. And because you should be like the part of the masses that respond to him that way. And then by the actions he does, the good things is like, okay, I'm learning to get past that.
Sure.
And then he commits the horrific murders. And then it's like, okay, now we're back. So that being lassoed around, that's what the book does to you.
Yeah.
And it's like if they had just done that, then I'm like, all right, well, you've got an essence of the book that was so important that did come across, right? We can't get that done because you made him look like a cool monster and not a scary monster like he needed to be.
Sure. Yeah, because he looks like strips of skin or different colored or whatever. So, but that's about it. It just kind of looks like he's puzzle pieced together, rather than being actually disgustingly hideous. Because the book, it doesn't really describe him necessarily, but it describes in detail how people respond to him.
Right.
For instance, those guys that just shoot him upon seeing, like,
right.
Oh no, get that thing off of Earth immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fair. That's fair for what it's doing stylistically. I can understand. It's not, the guy with the bolts on the side of his head anymore. Like it has moved upwards.
Where are the bolts?
Yeah,
I think
where are they?
Neck, actually.
Where's Igor?
I wanted to see those. The knobs. Like, could he?
Not this time.
Maybe he could like.
It's
adjust.
Just going Mel Brooks on this.
It could do what you were suggesting earlier, where he's like trying to like change his mind or whatever to make him intelligent.
Oh yeah,
so he adjusts
slight adjust. Yeah, that is a Mel Brooks
thing. We scale back to that PG-13 rating, and I'll be a lot more forgiving with my review.
Clearly not so much. Not today.
Okay, I'm done. I promise I'm done.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, I think the main point that we wanted to make here was we think that Eggers should do Frankenstein.
Yes. He should.
We should just have Eggers do a whole gothic horror thing. He's kind of on a stint right now. Who cares about the Wolfman, though? I mean, he's going to do it justice, but do the big ones, man. Like, it would have been cool if he moved from Nosferatu straight into Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
He was just making the same movie. Just like, leave the sets up, guys. We're whatever.
Exactly.
And then just straight into Frankenstein. And then, and then you could do more nuanced things like Dorian Gray, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde would be very cool.
That would be a rough movie from Eggers. My goodness.
Yeah, that would be hard to stomach because Hyde is not a good person.
No.
He's kind of the worst of them all. Well, actually, I mean, Dorian gives him a run for his money.
Yeah, like he would be like, hey, what can I rate this movie? Like, what's above R? Do that one. But, yeah, all in all, weren't a fan. I really thought this was a huge swing and a miss. Don't really recommend. I was trying to give it some grace, but the more I thought about it, the more I mulled on it.
Yeah.
Didn't like.
And I think the critics and audience scores just goes to show how few people have read the book, honestly.
It's either that or how few people watched the movie. I think it's only got a limited theatrical release, so I don't think a huge number of people have seen it.
So it's not representative of...
I wouldn't say so.
Oh.
But I understand, like, he did do a bunch of things to appeal to a mass audience, so it might not change, but I'm hopeful. Let's get that 89 just down. It's 40 something. Anyway, anything else you want to add? Closing thoughts?
It wasn't good.
Del Toro, you're kicking me off the wagon, man.
Yeah, he's
might lose a fan here.
This is what I've been saying. Join the. We're not Del Toro fans. It's fine.
Anti-Toro.
You just have to ignore everybody who gets mad at you when you say you don't like Pan's Labyrinth.
I'm learning to do that. A lot of people don't like my opinions, so you just gotta shrug them off.
Have your opinion.
Yeah, this one sucks. So thank you for watching. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.